welcome back to the Raw Selection Private Equity Podcast. Joining us today is Adam Crandall, the CRO at Abtronics, a private equity-backed roll-up of automation technology companies. Today we're going to be talking about go-to-market strategy, how they've 4x revenue growth, and also add-on integration. Adam, if you can share with us a brief insight into you, please.
Yeah, Alex, thanks for having me on this morning. My name's Adam Crandall. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer of Abtronics. Small background about me. Basically got into the business world back in 2009, broke my teeth into the Fortune 1000 world, working for a big biotech, big pharma organization. I actually started my career in HR, pretty non-traditional career to the CRO path, but jumped into the HR world, did that for a year, really enjoyed it. And after that, an opportunity presented me to join inside sales department in this big biotech firm. Ran the East Coast territory for this company for a year. After multiple steps in that organization, I ended up diving into founder-led small businesses in the manufacturing space. Went from technical ceramics to robotics and automation. And after spending a few years in robotics and automation, had an incredible opportunity to work for this robotics and automation company in Charlotte, North Carolina. So I left Rochester, New York, where I'm originally born and raised. Left Rochester, went down to Charlotte, North Carolina in 2019, worked for this robotics and automation company. And the founders brought me in and said, hey, we want to grow this business. We want to exit the business. We want to help you do it. And I ended up working for that business. It was a small husband and wife owned company, about 50 people. And after about 3 years, we quadrupled the revenue and ended up exiting that business, and we were acquired. My whole background is more sales, marketing, business development. So held multiple positions in VP of sales, SVP of sales, chief revenue officer. And now I currently reside in the Charlotte, North Carolina area with my family. I'm the chief revenue officer of Abtronics. We're a group of operating companies that have come together, and we're basically building a robotics and automation platform. And super excited to talk to you today and share a little bit about my journey as Chief Revenue Officer and all the things that I'm seeing in go-to-market, private equity in my lens.
Excellent. Well, 4x the revenue of a privately owned business. Very impressive in private equity backed. Even more so impressive when you've got no sponsorship. What was it's easy to put things down to one thing, and then sometimes or simplistic from my perspective. But what's either one or two things that you did in that business that allowed that kind of revenue growth and revenue unlock?
Yeah, great question. So a few things. I always go back to this main point. Get the right people in the right seats. As a sales leader, as a president, CEO, it's absolutely critical. Lay the foundation. You can have the best KPIs, the best analytics. You can be doing all the right things from a strategy standpoint. But if you don't have the right people in the right seats, that's one of your biggest challenges. And I think, Alex, when I came in 2019 to this small founder-led business, we had a broken sales team, broken marketing team. We didn't have the right people in the right seats. And no matter what processes we put in place, what markets we went after, what customers we tried to acquire, with the business not having the right people in the sales department and the marketing department, our applications team to, provide solid quotations and proposals, we weren't going anywhere but just basically flat. And we ended up coming in, building a huge team that was really solid, bringing the right people in with the right energy, the right skill set, the right talent, and even just the right culture connection to the organization and the mission of where we were going. And as soon as we installed the right group and brought the right team together, that was one of the major things that I really saw that just made things honestly take off. I would say on top of that, the next thing is just focus. There's so many companies that want to be everything to everyone, I always say. And when we looked at our market in robotics and automation, there was 2 or 3 key areas from 2019 even to now that have just been growing substantially: power and energy, medical device, life sciences, pharma. And we really blocked out all the noise. The business that I worked at in 2019, that robotics and automation firm, they were like 90% automotive. And we started to really look at the markets and say, automotive for us was not the core focus. It wasn't growing at the double-digit CAGR that we wanted to see it grow at. So we started again, we brought in the right people in the right seats, made a big shift, and we had a defined, articulate group of core markets that we really wanted to focus on. And as soon as we did that, we started to see double-digit immense growth year over year. And I would say those two major, value creation levers, you could call them, or just major focuses, that's what helped us quadruple the revenue in literally about 3.5 years.
So the common theme for everybody who comes on the podcast is talks about the right people, which is ironic when we're in an era of AI coming and everybody's concerned that is everyone's going to get replaced.
Yeah,
The right people, of course, there'll be different roles within those positions. You mentioned marketing, you mentioned sales, but
yeah.
curious to know if there was a kind of a single avatar of person. When I say that, I mean if there's a certain credentials and criteria. I asked this question because it's something we use internally that meant that it was like, yeah, every single person we hired had this, and it won't be that they had this exact niche skill set, but it might be that we went for somebody that had the experience doing what we wanted X, Y, Z, or did you grow people internally? Was there a certain cultural aspect that you assess for to build this team? Because saying build a great team, well, everyone's out there trying to hire the best people, but that's not easy as it is said.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a lot of noise out there around that, Alex. I mean, you just put it perfectly there. There's a lot of discussion and noise around, oh, we'll build the right team. You need to do this, you need to do that. I think one of the learnings that I've seen over, really the past 10 years of sales leadership and executive leadership for me when you're looking at building that right team is don't always just hire based on experience and people that have done what they have done in the industry you're in. And a lot of people will tell you that. I've heard it year over year of, oh, well, this person's been doing this for 20 years and he or she is a specialist in this industry. So you need to hire this person. I've always looked for the talent profile of individuals that A, have a winning attitude, B, are incredibly open to change, and C, they've done really difficult things in complementary industries, even if it's not the same industry, but they've really tackled difficult, complex projects and they have that winning attitude and you can bring them in and they're moldable and they challenge and they debate respectfully. I more look for the soft skills versus just the hard skills. And I feel like every time I've made a hire where I brought someone in that has been in the industry for 20 or 30 years and they fit that profile in that box, 80% of the time they don't always work out. But when I shift my focus and I say, what, I'm going to bring in a team, I look at their soft skills, I look at their profile, and you bring in someone that in an interview, you can see they want to be better every single day. They want to improve every single day. They have a continuous improvement mindset. They challenge you every single day. And when you bring them in, you see that when you give them a complex project, they don't just do it, not raise their hand, keep their head down. You can see them actively raising their hand and pushing, and they're very resourceful and creative. And I look for bringing in people like that. When I was able to do that at the first business in robotics and automation, we put that team together, and that's really again was the impetus to that quick scalable growth. I mean, you can grow 5%, 3% year over year, but if you're looking to really what I call like scale and grow double digit. I see bringing in individuals and building a talent pool like that, you're going to benefit more significantly.
Okay. So, in your role as Chief Revenue Officer at Adtronics, 3.5 years in, share with us similarly kind of two value creation projects that you've been working on, what outcomes you've had so far, and what are your big learnings from them, please?
Yeah, yeah. So I would say one of the major ones, Alex, number one of our businesses has a specific industry right now that's just adopting automation at one of the most aggressive clips we've ever seen. So one of the big projects that we took on was, really diving in, doing a market study, bringing the whole team to rally around this one industry and say, okay, each individual, you're going to get a piece of this industry and you're going to focus on who are the major players, where are the geographical focuses that we need to be on, and bring this whole team together to take this project and say, how do we penetrate it? How do we get some of the biggest customers in this industry? How do we make sure that we're credible in this industry when it comes to trade shows, branding, messaging, marketing? That was a major project and really turned into a value creation lever. Once we did that, it took about 2 years almost. We became, I would say, the dominant player in that specific industry. And when we did that, we started to see almost 100% growth year over year. I mean, significant growth. And the business has not slowed down. That was a major, major shift. If we didn't pull that lever, I think we would have only probably grown maybe 10, 15% year over year. But now we're seeing our bookings, our revenue, again, sometimes 100% year over year because of that. The second big thing I would say is price. A lot of people don't I don't know, they feel like it's a difficult task to be able to increase prices and grab more share when you're doing that at the same time. In my seat as CRO, I work with my salespeople every day to say, look, especially in our portfolio of companies that have significant, significant backlogs. If you have significant backlogs and you're growing again, 3, 4x, you have the opportunity to command higher prices. And when you pull that value creation lever, especially in PE or even non-PE businesses, that's going to drive more money to the bottom line. I mean, dollar for dollar, you're raising on price is going right to your bottom line. It's also helping your salespeople be motivated for, greater commissions because you have a higher price you're selling your projects for. So I would say again, the second biggest one is price. Every single year, looking at where can you increase prices, what businesses can have higher and more aggressive price increases. We have one business where we have a 6-month backlog. Why would you not be raising prices? So we're doing exactly that because customers don't want to wait for it. They're even asking, hey, can we pay an expedited fee? Sure, you're going to pay 10, 15% more. And if you can grab that price increase action, it's going to not only help your EBITDA, it's not only going to help your bottom line, but it's again, I look at it as an even culture motivator where you can help your salespeople be more motivated by paying higher commissions as well.
Marvelous. Sorry to interrupt. Just a quick mention of our long-standing partnership with Grata. As you will probably know, the private equity scene is constantly evolving, and deal flow is moving now to proprietary and data-driven processes. Grata provides you with the data and information of over 7 million private companies. So if you're looking to improve your proprietary deal flow and improve the data access, then reach out to Grata today. Now back to the podcast. Like private equity loves price increases. It's a simple play. Founder
Sure.
owned business, especially first time. Usually, it's something that's been neglected for fear of loss of customers.
Sure.
Um, how do you go about communicating, or how do you advise your teams to go about communicating with customers about price increases?
I'm honestly glad you asked that because literally just last week we had a full sales training on messaging to customers and how do you deal with the mid-year price increase that some of these businesses handle. I think the biggest thing I look at, Alex, is your messaging should be focused always on the value that you create. The top 1% of salespeople, they focus their messaging on price increases when they're looking at closing the deal, not even just on price, but they always bring the message, which is a good message, on what value are your products creating. And a lot of salespeople will apologize for the price increase. They'll kind of dance around it. They'll be like, "Oh, I know this is not a great thing, but we have to pass this around." No one has to do anything. We're increasing prices as salespeople because your products are providing so much value to the customers that you're selling to. And in PE, at least in my world, we're focused in robotics and automation. That's a niche market. This is not a commodity or a standard product or distribution. So I've worked really hard with the go-to-market team within Idtronics and my people to say, look, when we're doing a price increase, we have to make sure that we tie this back when we're speaking to our customers on, hey, this is the value that we're creating. And in addition to that, we're not just raising price to raise price. We're not doing it to gouge people by any means. There's inflationary price issues right now. You have cost of doing business that continues to rise. Healthcare continues to go up. And if you want to continue to invest in your people, how do you bring in the best technicians? How do you bring in the best engineers? How do you bring in the best personnel? And again, bring all those individuals in so you can continue to make the best products, provide the best service. And if your customers continue to demand that, I don't understand how a company can continue to provide that and bring you to the market without having price increases every single year. Because without being able to do that, something's going to suffer. Either A, your profits, and you're not going to be able to bring in the right people, which ultimately is going to lead to poor service or poor innovation when it comes to your product talent, pipeline long term.
And so your strategy at the moment, pivoting to what you guys are doing at Adtronics, you're obviously doing acquisitions. It's a buy and build process. With acquisitions, typically brings varying cultures. And for a
Yeah.
lot of private equity firms, that literally means just smashing businesses together to the most point. Integration is done poorly. But focusing on your role with that, what has been the toughest culture shift change that you've had to drive, and how did you go about making that a success?
Yeah, yeah. So I would say when I look at the go-to-market organization, Alex, one of the biggest challenges that I see is most salespeople just want to sell and go after top line growth. And I would even say when I look at my career, Fortune 1000, founder-led, small business, a lot of it was just hit your sales number, and we'll figure out how to make it work. When you look at the strategy that we're putting together and what I've really focused on with my sales team and this big culture shift, as you mentioned, is how do you get them to be incentivized and focused on not just bookings or sales, but profitable and focused on the right sales. A lot of salespeople, again, want to sell everything to, everyone or everything to anything. Sometimes there's not a sale that we should be taking. And when you look at people's comp plans, how do you make sure that they're aligned to incentivizing the reps to again sell profitable business and not just again general business? And I think that was a big challenge when I sat down over the whole organization and looked at my team and said, look, we have to train your mindset. I know you want to make your sales number, but that's not just the important thing. I mean, I've even had conversations culturally to say, look, if you miss your sales number by 5% or 10%, but you beat our margin target by 5 or 8%, that's actually a win. And salespeople will sit there and they'll scratch their head and they're like looking at me like, wait a minute, Adam, you're literally telling me you're a chief revenue officer. You're telling me that if I miss my revenue or my bookings target by 5%, that's a win. I'm like, well, yeah, it's a win if you have the right customer mix. It's a win if you have the right profit mix. If you're actually exceeding your profit target every single year, but you're slightly below maybe your top line revenue growth, that's not a failure. And that's been a huge shift to get our people focused on not just growth, but profitable growth.
Makes sense. And in the talk about value creation and levers, in value creation, which growth lever do you think that most leaders underestimate?
Yeah, so I circle it back to again, you have price, you have putting in a CRM like Salesforce when you look at the go-to-market world. But what I think when I look at the full value creation package is this. One of my biggest things as CRO is the go-to-market playbook. That go-to-market playbook creates alignment across the entire organization. It sets clear expectations for each function within your business. If you're a COO, you're a CTO, you're a CFO, do you have that playbook? And I believe a lot of leaders will have these ideas. They'll have these thoughts. They'll want to focus here. Again, bringing in the right people, all good things. But one of the biggest value creation levers that I've developed since we sold the first robotics business, and now I've been with Edtronics, is creating this fully aligned playbook that literally lays out here's our go-to-market strategy, here's what each function is going to be responsible for. And then we have a decentralized focus in the go-to-market world where even as CRO, I don't have every single sales, marketing, and sales leader reporting to me. We actually have a different structure where we empower our operating company presidents. They bring in their own sales leader, they follow the playbook, and together we really empower them and give them a decentralized kind of authority decision-making matrix where they drive their businesses. They know their businesses best, but at the same time, they have to follow that centralized playbook that helps them with the strategic kind of day-to-day decisions that they're looking to make.
What's exploring that playbook in more detail? What's something that's within your playbook that um, is cross transferable regardless of company or customer? That's like, hey,
Yeah,
this should be in everyone's playbook.
exactly. Yeah, so for me, it's one page, simple, clear, concise. It lays out what marketing should be focused on, what sales should be focused on, sales and operations, what sales leadership should be focused on. So it goes and basically looks at all of the different go-to-market functions or the roles within the playbook. But then there, it provides the leaders with literally a blueprint on what are the meetings that you should be having and what are the top KPIs that you should be having. So it's people, KPIs, and process. And those are the top three things that playbook focuses on, tracks, and communicates. And like you said, Alex, I can literally take that playbook today. We can run that at Electronics. You can run that at company X, company Z, company Y. And at the end of the day, that go-to-market team should be able to execute, scale, and grow double digits.
What do you read, watch, listen to that you recommend that others should check out?
Yeah. So, first thing is Adam Coffey's private equity book. Great book. He's a great individual to follow on LinkedIn. Also, Good to Great. Incredible book. If you're a leader, you haven't read Good to Great, definitely recommend that. Those are some of the just things that I look at. And then I look at other things like, Culture Index, the DISC personality assessment when I look at assessing talent. So I'm a big reader, avid reader, but I also look at a lot of tools and the other major one I would say is the OMG, the Objective Management Group sales assessment. If you're a new CRO, a new sales leader, I think they were actually acquired by a PE-backed business, I believe. They're out of the Boston, Massachusetts area. A great assessment to have chief revenue officers and sales leaders assess sales talent. And again, it's called the OMG, the Objective Management Assessment. It's something we've adopted, and it helps evaluate, I would say, the hard skills. Can salespeople close? Can they negotiate? How are they in handling objections, in dealing with disappointment or defeat when they lose a deal? So I like to also stay up with a lot of different tools in addition to readings and things like that. And then lastly, I would also say JD Miller is a great CRO, and he's a great voice in the PE community. He just launched a new book on AI, and AI is the new big thing right now that all leaders are getting into. He's got a really good book on artificial intelligence when it comes to, again, different tools that go to market and sales leaders can incorporate and use to help scale businesses and drive revenue growth.
Marvelous. And if anybody wishes to do so, how best do they get in touch with you, please?
Yeah, so I can be reached on LinkedIn, Adam P. Crandall. Feel free to reach out and contact me. That's the best way. I'm a very active LinkedIn member. You can reach out to me at any time. Connect with me on LinkedIn, send me a message. Happy to set up a call, and happy to continue to discuss my journey as Chief Revenue Officer at Etronics, and happy to help anyone when it comes to scaling businesses and hopefully taking your business to the next level in a double-digit growth manner.
Marvelous. Well, thank you very much for your time, Adam, for coming on to the Private Equity Podcast.
Yeah, I appreciate it. This was exciting to be on. I appreciate the opportunity.
And as always, thank you very much to all of our listeners for yet again tuning in to the Private Equity Podcast. Till the next time, keep smashing it.